We'll see if this works. I think my YouTube side of this might be a little hosed. Knows what I want to call it. I just don't think it's firing anything up. Oh, it does say I'm live. Ha ha! All right, well, we'll see if this works. Maybe mic'd in the background. All right, so I got a lot to do still with these Red Corsairs. I'm going to try to power through a bunch of it. But I will admit, I'm a little bored of it right now. So there's a possibility I just pull out a kit and start building something. I think a lot of the work on these guys pretty much can be handled offline. But I also want to like give people a taste of some amount of completeness. So I'm hemming and hawing is basically what it comes down to. Like, do I want to finish this on stream? Do I want to take advantage of the time on stream and fire something else up new? It's the struggle remains real. But anyhow, at the very least, we're going to put some paint on some flipping models. This guy close. Hop to it. All right, get this guy's gun. One of the things I probably could make a ton of progress on across all of these models is getting some gunmetal on them. Very few have that. So that may be something, that may be an out. Like, wanting to feel like I'm making some solid progress here. We'll see. We'll see. It's also good to just be back on here. So I might just slide right in and get comfy. It's a struggle when you got a lot of projects. I mean, I've still got my boy Scarbrand over there. He's got some more metallic work to do on him. I'm not lacking for a to-do list. Hey, what's up, Tank? I gotta move this screen so I don't have to crane my head. There we go. Right in the thick of it. Oh, perfect. Perfect. How's it going, buddy? Bunch this red in there. Get his helmet while I'm here. What's up, Auditor? Instigator's my primary role. I can get other people to do crazy, crazy things. I'm a happy man. It's a great idea, man. A full Trajan army retinue terrain thing. I wish you luck. I mean, as much as I'm meandering a little bit, this army is pretty much a concept army. Like, this is very much supposed to be one of the, like, Abaddon Black Crusade, call everyone and their uncle in that owes you a point here or there. Which is why, like, Red Corsairs are in this army. Night Lords are in this army. Everyone and their uncle is hopefully going to be in this army. Which means, like, maybe I'll do some Alpha Legion in here. I've thought about it a little bit. And maybe there's some room for some Alpha Legion. I don't need to hit everyone. But a good representation of a bunch of different Chaos Faction crews will certainly be a hoot to get in here. Pauldron. Chess piece. Ugh. I'm going to stop complaining about this. I love that I'm here and doing this. But little guys are little guys. Their own brand of woof. Got to remember that these guys are all going to get a nice wash too. Some nice crimson. Still more metal work to do on them. So I got to be accurate, but not completionist. We're here to acquire your rare items, indeed. He really is like half of sort of dichotomy of wargamer players of like the absolute collector side, not really worried about the meta. Definitely needs this guy or that guy or this thing. I mean, I think one of my favorite displays he's got is just like an absolute crazy orc battle mid stride in stasis. And somebody ends up cracking into the thing and unleashing everything, and you've just got like dudes riding around, flying around literally on rockets. Zipping around the museum. It's probably one of the times Orakin goes in there. It's pretty wild stuff. I started playing, and I thought it was just going to be a quick whim for some indie dev inspiration. Started playing We Who Are About to Die again a bit. I actually almost streamed it one day because I was like, man, I haven't streamed in a long time and I'm playing the daylights out of this game. But if you haven't played it, definitely check it out. I think it was one of those like mostly made by one person games. But it's a gladiator game. And it's got a decent amount of career management in it, a decent amount of random chance in it. And it's lethal, which is nice. Really fun game. Just wanted to sort of get my indie on for a bit, and then it really got its teeth into me. And I played it before, but I haven't played it in quite a while, and it's still in early access. But it is quite a game. Hey, Miati, how are you doing? I've decided in general I just need to stream more. Somewhat regardless of which channel, which topic. Just need to get on here and just turn the button on. Get back into a groove. Somewhere in my psychology, I've turned it into more than what it is, I think. Do I really want to stream? And really, when I got started, it was like, well, it's pretty easy to just turn this stuff on. So I think I'm just going to do that more often. Just turn it on. Things are pretty good. I'm starting to like have more thorough concerns about my finances, but most of that is just like I'm in a very impatience conducive spot in the development of my game. My game is not going to like miraculously pay me a lot of money. It's not the point of the first one, but getting it to the point where it can make some money, that is like forthcoming. I really want to get it out there in early access, and it's just not ready yet. It's just a lot of stuff that needs to get done. So I'm like, psychologically, I'm just in this waiting for Christmas kind of mental mode. But I'm good. I have exciting plans as far as starting to garden again this year. Hopefully I can kick those off. I am very excited for the new Death Garden. Here's one thing I didn't understand from watching that preview thing though. Is it just the one model, or are they implying a new box by what they had laid out with him? I love the new model. Waiting for Christmas here in March. Good to see you, Sea Falls. Because man, the sort of scene they had him in was like, I think it was like Poxwalkers, a Plague Burst Crawler. I was like, man, I could go for a box that has like the new guy, a bunch of Poxwalkers, and a Plague Burst Crawler. I could get down with that. It's one of those cases where like I need more of each no matter what. Like that's the scene they have. I really hope it is. Um, because there have been a lot of box sets that I've been able to go like, don't need it for quite some time. I mean, I'm still sitting on having to finish these Chaos box sets, but it was a while ago that I got them. I mean, basically, is the old Combat Patrol, new Combat Patrol, and one Battley box. That was a while ago, and I am making good progress in them. This paint is testament to. I don't have enough skin in the Thousand Sons game um, to really have valid feedback or feelings on it. But like I do happen to just like own the old Combat Patrol, and I think that thing sucks. So you know, I think anything new for a box set from them that isn't 20 Zangors deep is a step in the right direction. That's my little take. Thousand Sons are not known for having, at least in the last couple of years, all the box sets must have them all. The Pokemon game. I do like the new robots. I know Sector X doesn't, but like, and I could see reasons why someone might not like them, but I don't know. I dig them. I like, maybe it's my, whatchamacallit, Khemri days of Blood Bowl, but like, big automatons, just like in the Egyptian theme, are always going to make me happy. And hopefully, like, that aesthetic leads to more big bots. And Thousand Sons getting more additions to their set of sculpts. One can hope. I always try to think like a move or two ahead. And it'd be kind of a waste if the aesthetic was just spent. But Sectrix doesn't like anything in general. Yeah, I know. He's a very hard man to like hit the nail on the head with. He's uncompromising, which is fine. But he's also like, he's got a lot of time invested into Thousand Sons, and I don't. And I do respect the guy's opinion. Like, I don't agree with everything that he says, but I thoroughly like. I think his points are very valid, but like, I think the Fulgrim sculpt, especially the faces, pretty awesome. Um, people being people can have their opinions about them, but like that to me is like what happens when you take a very handsome, awesome dude and put him in the warp for 10,000 years as like the right hand man to a chaos god of excess. Yeah, I didn't really pay attention to what was in that whole setup. And once again, like World Eaters, I don't have anything from. So like for me, it's just like, oh, it's a bunch of World Eaters. It's a totally different story if you've been playing and collecting for a while and being like, why would I need this? Like I totally respect that. But I ain't got no jackals. I'm jackaless. So it's kind of easy for me to just be like, neat. But I appreciate that a lot of folks with those boxes were like, I was kind of hoping for for more of stuff that I needed. And these things, oh, I didn't get this guy's sword. You know, these factions have history, and some of those calls are very weird based on previous releases. But like world leaders are still relatively, in the big picture, new, right? Like they certainly had other sculpts they could have gone with. Do they have like legit Terminators yet? I think it was them that I was kind of like expecting special sculpt. I don't think they have special. You know, Fulgrim, he's been busy. He's been busy. He still finds the time to talk to his boy Fabius Bile. He's been a bit busy. I'm also pleased that in Monster Hunter Wilds, the like head research dude from your like guild is named Fabius, and he's like this old dude. Oh, Fabs. Fat Five Freddy. Got a little water on here and see if we can thin this up a little bit. Get it to drizzle. Nice. But I'm gonna get this whole guard done in red. If I want to edge it, I can. Red Corsairs going into my Chaos Space Marine army. My Chaos Space Marine army is going to be represented by all kinds of factions. It's supposed to be one of them fun times when Abaddon calls up everybody and their uncle. It's like, yo, I got this idea for a Black Crusade. It's going to have Night Lords in it. I'll have like, I mean, speaking of Thousand Sons, I gotta get some of them together for this. But it'll have, you know, all four god-oriented factions, at least with battle line stuff in there, and then a bunch of just other representation. Fabius Bile will be in there with some mutated dudes, Red Corsairs with Uncle Huron himself. Should probably paint some skin on that dude at some point. There's not that much of it. Might do some Alpha Legion, even though it might just be a Hellbrute. I might do a Alpha Legion Hellbrute because I think they look cool. I think there's enough space on them to get some like cool coloration. Excuse me. Just name them Alfarius. It's like, dude, you're not Alfarius. What are you thinking? I'll do this guy's boots. You get red boots. All right, bud. You convinced me. I'll do the trim on him with some metallic. But yeah, this is 10 legionaries that are all half legion head on. Yeah, long range killing is a good thing. All these legionaries, with the exception of like champion or captain or whatever the boss version is, who's got a power fist. All these guys are chainsword and bolt pistols. All just like old school pirate boarding. I think at this point, I'm pretty sure I'm going to do up my Rhino as a Red Corsair's Rhino. Have them just drive up to one spot and just sit on it till death, happily chain sorting and pistoloing everyone and their uncle. That's the plan. Yeah, I think it's got to be Thousand Suns in the Space Marine game, but like I have um I have Death Guard Hellbrute and I love it. I think it's great. It's on a really corny looking base that I did. It looks like almost like a cookie. It's like a bunch of flesh with eyeballs sticking out of it. But I have that already, and I'm like, Thousand Suns might be neat. Like if I got to get some Alpha Legion in, maybe the Hellbrute would be a good place to do it. Get some like really interesting metallic greens and blues on it. Could be fun. And I've already got it. It's already metallic as all heck. So I might just be able to like contrast paint it on the plates and get some really like I might not use direct contrast paint. I may mix a few things with some contrast medium to see if I can get some of that classic looking Alpha Legion sheeny shiny thing going. I don't know. Could look cool. Could look cool. And then I think, though I'm not committed to yet, I think I'm going to take my obliterators and make them very iron. Might do that with my spider guy that comes with him. Venom crawler. Venom crawler's got a lot of space. A lot of big plates. Do some hazard stripes. But yeah, I got a crap ton of stuff. Like I've made very good progress on this army, but I have so much stuff to paint. Pretty wild. Second coat here. Just remember, getting a wash on these guys too. Don't bug out. This guy's only the toe section. I don't want all these guys to look like they got their armor out of exactly the same place. So I'm pretty intentionally messing with some of the plates and stuff so I don't paint them all red or all black. Some of these guys may get a little weathering on them more than others. Alpha Legion Rhino Predator. Pretty awesome. It's once again like it's boxy enough where I think you got big enough plates on it where you can really make the colors like have a very tangible effect. They really pop on the table, which is pretty sweet. Kind of the way a Death Guard ones with just covered in like grossness really stand out. You're like, why is that rhino got tentacles on it? Like, gotcha. Same thing is true of like the very, very classy looking upscale Alpha Legion stuff. I may do some of these I did red on the loincloth. I think some of them I gotta just do a different color. It's gonna just like be too much. Just a little squeegee in here. Whoop. That, over that. Breaking by the box. And maybe down the road get some 3D print tanks from 1,000 Suns. Yeah. I feel like some of the tanks, especially like transport stuff, very, very conducive to getting a 3D print. I've got a Death Guardy one. My 4-year-old's partially painted. And it just seems like I mean the thing's a box. Like there's some really cool sculpty bits available to that rhino chassis if you're getting it of a certain flavor. I highly recommend the Sisters Rhino box because like that extra sprue of stuff. Yeah, the Death Guard print is awesome. It's It's really, really cool. It's got tons of, I'll actually grab it in a second. But I'm letting my 4-year-old paint it at least to start, and then I'll go back and hit it with a pile of whatchamacallit, probably streak and grime on it. I'll add some other details to it because she's 4, and she's doing a killer job on it. And she loves it. Then it's actually really tempting for me to just like build a 1,000-point army of some faction and just hand it off to my 4-year-old, paint it, and then take it to a tournament. And anyone who talks trash be like, "Yo, man, my 4-year-old painted this. I'll kick your ass." It's like total bait. Oh, you're just about done with the main paint. I mean, there is a challenge there. Like a lot of the like brighter, more profound color stuff can be hard to get to look good on some of the larger back. Like if you nail it on a large piece, like knights are notorious for this, where you see some knights and it's like, ooh, like that's supposed to all be red and it kind of looks a little squirrely. But if you get it to the point where weathering it looks cool, like you are in very, very good shape. Gently, gently. Yeah, this thing. There's your boy. Look at that. That is a fine start to a very Death Guardy looking rhinoceros. And so I'll add some stuff to it. I'll let her shithing auditor. I'll add some detail to it. I'll let her take another couple cracks at it. But what I might do is just like relegate it to like doing up the helmets, and maybe like some of the insignia on the side. Yeah, it's freaking gorgeous. I can't wait to put this on a table. Yeah, I know, right? But like you can totally tell, like this is like just kind of like fun 4-year-old painting and cool. And then you just dip it. You're like, all right, it's in the army. My army has that really bright green bit, so don't want to dull that. Still make it look yeah. It is a hard line to cross. It's super easy with Death Guard to make stuff look damaged and have it be fine. So some of the things that I love to look at the most in other people's models are super clean, like properly weathered ultramarines to me are actually interesting. When you take like the super clean, everybody went to the same JC Penney fitting session for their armor, and then like you make it look like it's been through the ringer. That to me is super cool. And as much as I love weathering the daylights out of my Death Guard stuff, it's kind of cheating. Yeah, weathered fists. Yeah, exactly. Which is actually a heck of a lot of fun when I did Karn the Bloody, because he was like taking out an Imperial Fist guy, and I was like able to get in there with the sponge. And so when you take like really crisp colors and really like pristine built suits of armor and you make them like look beat up, it's like an art form unto itself. And as much as I appreciate it and will end up doing it myself, I think it's at a different level than like say Death Guard or even Imperial Guard. Like I don't. It's impressive, and you get a lot of like old army kit heads out there that do a fantastic job weathering up Imperial Guard stuff, but it's like almost like it's supposed to be to me, like the same way Death Guard is supposed to be weathered, but like it's not as impressive to me as someone who takes something that looks brand spanking new. I mean, obviously there's cases where someone will take that big ass tank, that mega huge tank, make it look super clean and then make it look like barely weathered, and like some of those I'm just like, wow, that's impressive. But I'm most impressed when people take stuff like super pristine loyalist knights and stuff and just like, all right, they've been fighting a war for 6 months every day, hopped up on stims. This is what you look like now. It's good stuff. And like weathering yellow just stands out like crazy. It's like a bold, bold statement. Oh yeah, this paint is not happily sticking here. I'm gonna lay it on pretty heavy. I can run some oil in that groove. Make it look dope. Oh, it's my alarm that says maybe you should stream. I bet it is. Yeah. Do, 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 Where's that box? Oh, it's my glasses cleaner swabs. Got things ready to gun. A little spot in here. Nope, that's part of the plate. That is not painted on purpose, but I do have to squeegee in here a little bit between these guys. I don't have to worry too much because those guys are going to get all dabbed with brass. But I would like to be able to like set these models aside, be like, the red's done. Get them all up to the same level of red doneness. I started messing around with metallics, which there's nothing wrong with. You're painting 10, 11, 12, technically speaking. Don't think I forgot Huron's little buddy, Beelzebub, or whatever his name is. When you're painting 12 models, like, I don't know. Some people are like hella organized. I'm not. At least when it comes to painting. Dipping around and doing other little spots of the process in between. Kind of fun. Getting around. Getting around. Dab, dab, dab. Dab, dab, dab. Water. I gotta clean this brush soon. Putting this thing through heck. Pigment, maybe. Yeah, I'm pretty psyched for the new Death Guard dude, and it sounds very much like he leads Poxwalkers. Like he better. The Lord of Poxes. Poxwalkers desperately need an additional leader. It'd be fantastic if he could deep strike them in like Typhus does in Combat Patrol. Like that would be the winner. Short of my brilliant, if I don't mind tooting my own horn, idea of changing the miasmic malignifier to a vehicle that only carries Poxwalkers. That would be fun. Zero movement. But it's an infiltrator. I know. And it's like if it only carries Poxwalkers, or maybe the Lord of Poxes. And it's keeps all of its other stats, so it doesn't move. It's got infiltrator. You can plop it anywhere on the board, 9 inches out. Yeah, boss bunker mode, and just like plop it in, and someone runs up to junk the thing, and it's a Poxwalker pinata. Like that's kind of cool. That would actually make it like, even if it was way more points, not way more. It's overpriced right now, but even if it was more points, like it would be a legit tactical threat. Yeah, it's terrain is like just straight up and flying are it's a good thing you bundled those two in that statement because like both of those things are just really as an accomplished once again tooting my own horn accomplished game designer reading the rules on those in 10th is like a little painful like how flying works then there's hover mode how terrain works it's like it's a lot it's very chewy Like it feels like it. They harken back to when the game was different, but don't do so in a way that is digestible. Like that AdMech Archiraptor, something like that. I have one of those. It's a really cool model. I really like it, and I was gonna play it, and then I realized I would have no idea what I was doing. And then like, okay, finally I grokked the rules, and it was like it flies straight unless it turned 90 degrees. It hit edge of table. It come back. Like, yeah, I understand that like a lot of the bikes do stuff like that, but like its movement is crazy. So it's just kind of like I don't know the validity of it, not validity, viability of it is just like kind of weird. Yeah, so this one I hit with the metallics first. It looks sweet. Thankfully, red and Runelord brass go well together. So when they blend a little bit, it's actually just kind of neat and not terrible. Still being careful. Also still recognizing that I can come back and hit the metallics again and just cover over it. Zoop. Zoop. Let's just get this whole thing. Let's not mess around. We wearing red. Yeah, we'll just get the insides of this. I'm probably going to throw a bunch of blood on these guys too. Oh, it was good. It was good. I do right now. It's a temp gig, but I'm doing some curriculum development stuff for somewhat local, not around the corner, New England University that wants to get a game development program going. And so what they do is they temp hire up some subject matter experts so that their coursework aligns allegedly with what professionals want out of students when they're done, and it's really neat. It's not that hard. I mean, it's not that hard at all because it's kind of just like your professional weigh in on the things that they're choosing. Um, and truth be told, it's a lot like systems design, which is what I'm doing the curriculum design for. Um, so it's not like art imitates life, but like a lot of things that I'm saying are applicable to the job that I'm doing saying it. A little meta there. I mean, I'm designing something, so or at least helping other people design something. So it all tracks together. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And it's just like it's like not full time. It's not um it's like a month and a half calendar wise. So it's not a pile of money, but it's good, and like it gets my foot in the door and meeting some of these folks. Like it would be nice someday. It's actually what my sister does for a living, is just teach online, and so getting my feet wet with curriculum design, meeting some instructors, meeting some course designers. Certainly, like it's good networking. It's good networking, and you know a lot of times when you work at a studio, either A, you're not really allowed to develop your own games in your own time, and then I'm gonna leave that guy's breastplate black. Yeah, you can stay black because he's gonna have this whole silver thing across the front of it. You're gonna stay like that. Your helm though is getting red down the middle. you either sign a non-compete, which is enforceable or not. But truth be told, like if you're making games for someone, it can be extremely difficult to find the will at the end of the day to work on your own stuff. Because you end up just emptying you've popped the cork on your creativity for a paycheck. So if I could keep doing my own stuff, get a paycheck for something that is not specifically making games, I think that would be optimal for me. Be a good spot to be in. Mainly for insurance. I figure at some point, not in the immediate future, the actual game development will make enough money to pay the bills. The insurance component of that is pricey. Let's just see if I can last long enough paying my bills so I get to the point where it actually can be afforded. Let me just scooch a little paint in a couple spots here. That outer piece there. That piece there. Dab, 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 dab. That's a little thick, buddy. But you needed some pigment, and you got it. That's better. And once again, this is going to get washed, but until then, just want to get enough on there so that the wash is going over something that looks crimsony. Yeah, one can hope. One can hope. Hopefully I'm not living on the streets anytime soon. Though the job market for making games is just starting to loosen up. Like 10% of the industry was laid off in 2024, which means I don't worry about like how competitive it is, but like the money being invested in video games right now that aren't explicitly generative AI projects, pretty tiny. And we ran into the same thing a few years ago when NFTs were like, oh my God, everything's going to be an NFT game. And truth be told, like, they absolutely, I'm shocked that people could not come up with reasonable ways to use NFTs in games and actually have it get traction. There's very much a case where it wasn't a lot of actual game designers who come from at least in my opinion, a lot of game designers who come from an actual game making background, making a lot of those calls at those companies. And so there's a lot of flash in the pan sort of stuff like, wow, there really isn't actually a game here to play. Lo and behold, people engage with it for like a couple of weeks and then peace out because like I get it, but I did come here to get a game. All right, I think this guy's good. Sword, good. Yeah. Numero trace. Some of these guys I'm just going to hand over because I did get all the red down on them, which is good. Yeah, see that guy's loincloth. I did do. His boots are black, that's fine. He's red enough. Basically, like, is the guy red enough for me to proceed? Just while I'm sitting here, get this brush a little clean again. The richer, heavier pigmented stuff, really solid reds like Mephiston Red, which I'm using. I would guess Macragge Blue falls under this umbrella. They do mad work on the brush. That guy's red enough. That guy is red enough. It would be nice if I got through this whole thing. I was starting from the back of the list. You are red enough. Might grab some. You are not red enough. All right. Yeah, this is the guy with the power fist and the plasma pistol. Barney. He's in charge. He's actually been washed already, too. It's a good thing I can tell. And I think Huron might be red enough. His armor is so beat up. Just beat to death. All right, this guy needs some red. I love it. Everything's just falling apart. Like there's just like open sores. JMB, how are you? You're too kind. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Any evening when I'm on here hanging with my homies, pretty solid in my book. I do have an issue with a tooth. Kind of stinks. Doesn't smell bad yet, thankfully, but I have a molar that's broken. I finally went through the hoops of, through state insurance. How the heck do I find a dentist? And the lines are pretty long. So I went in, I got looked at, thank God, but I had to go pretty rural. All the dentists that accept the state card that are anywhere near a proper city are just booked. Like, just booked. They're like, hey, we are taking new patients. The first 3 days of the month you can call in. Stuff like that. And I've had this tooth that's been bothering me for a bit. It's cracked. It broke. It's a molar. But anyhow, I did finally get it looked at. It hurts a bit. It is not like crazy, like, oh my God, wrap my head in a bandage. But I'm basically just going to have to suck it up until the 9th. That's my appointment is to get the thing yoinked out. Could have gone with a root canal. That would have cost a little bit more money. And frankly, I'm so angry at this tooth because I'm petty that I just assume have the thing ripped out completely so I never have to deal with that tooth again. Don't want to do the like root canal, get it capped, and then like 5 years from now the cap's all messed up. Just like, you know what? The only screwed up tooth I've had in 20 years. Cosmetically, my teeth suck. Like, I got scraggle mouth, but oral health wise, I've been solid for a couple decades. So now I'm just like, you know what? Calling the week. You want to play nice tooth? You out. But yeah, relatively speaking, I'm in a good place. It's a good time. Just need to get my stupid game ready for early access. Get an entire Chaos Army done. And what else is on my book? Start gardening this year. I was actually going to start putting some gardening boxes together today. Just build some. Man, it got cold again. It got like, it's supposed to be nice out today. It was like the prediction as of like a couple days ago. Man, it was cold. And like, man, when it warms up and then it gets like, you get a little snap of cold again, it is just, it just gobbles up your motivation. Like I did some chores outside today, but I was like, I'm not gonna suffer through this crap. Winter's supposed to be done. It's gonna get down to freezing 1 or 2 nights this week. I'm like, really? Which is actually a good thing that I didn't get started building box garden because I would have put stuff straight in it, and that stuff would have just like, especially like raised beds, that would have iced over. Been like, guess what? Do it again, punk. Like gardening so much, do it twice. As like the Bush League move as a New England gardener is going that like week too early, getting a frost, being like, all your little seedlings just dead. I could start some stuff inside. I should. That'd be smart. SMRT. You know what? I'm going to leave that straight down the middle. That looks dope. That'll be metallic, some sort. I've got his helmet and his sword. Yeah, I'm just kicking it, coding by day, sleeping by night. I love this red. Fist in red, you so good to me. Still not as high on my list as Word Bearers Red, but a very close second. I can understand now why people like Blood Angels now. There's something very interestingly ceremonial about painting this much red. All right, and on this sword, that stays black. All right, his helmet. I should strap my goggles on. I should clean my glasses. Is what I should do. Come on, eyeballs, you can do it. Oof. Oh, there we go. Be one with the brush. Feel the pattern. Find the little nubbins. Use the hook of the brush when necessary. This man just whipped out his Blockbuster themed debit card. I, in turn, showed off my actual Blockbuster rewards card. He won up again by pulling out credit card. That's just the reverse Uno card. I love people that are ready for that kind of exchange. Oh, that is like, are we best friends now? That's sweet. Uh, well, okay, so I've been like thoroughly out of work since May of last year. Um, I went from like pretty much working to pretty swiftly not. Like a courteous exit on good terms, but like I couldn't be there anymore. Um, just was not aligning with the people ultimately in charge, which is terrible if you're trying to design stuff. Same thing, I guess. Um, and then I decided to take the summer off, and then I was like, all right, in September I'll start looking for work. And then man, the games industry right now is just like no bueno for finding work, especially if you're like a 20-year veteran like I am. Like it's like one of the most out of work age ranges, um, which is like fine. I don't think it's actually ageist because it's like pretty much the old people and the super young people, not in terms of human years, but work years. Um, Everybody wants like someone who's like senior, but not going to tell anyone anything to do. Is I think my take on it right now. So I've been out of work, and I started working on my own game, and I've been working on it for a while since like September, October. It's got a demo on Steam, and I got to get it ready. It's what I'm in the process of now of getting it ready for early access, and then eventually like yeah, it's I think a lot of it, Moth, has to do with the fact that there's like there's a war of ideology going on. No, not to be like that crazy, but so much of the funding right now is tied to generative AI stuff. And I don't think everyone has this opinion, but I know that a lot of people of my like pedigree are like, that's neat, but it's not going to make you a good game yet. Um, you still need to actually design a game. And there's a lot of people kind of warring against that. And a lot of that is because investment money is there saying, make us a generative AI thing. And if you have enough foresight, I'm not saying that there will never be games that are made well out of generative AI, but right now, just as like the film industry is like, yeah, good luck, on LinkedIn all the time. I mean, obviously, like TikTok's the same and Instagram's the same. Someone's like, hey, with $33 of investment, these are like the two tools I use, and is, cost me $28 for this one and $5 for that one per month. I made this like 40-second scene that looks like Lord of the Rings. And it's like, that's neat, but like, no one's going to pay for that. The challenge in the film industry is not making a 30-second clip. The challenge is making a movie that's worth watching. And the same is true in the games industry right now. People are like, look, I asked Chat GPT to give me 7 MMO class descriptions based on the 7 colors of the rainbow. And it's like, yeah, it can do that, and yeah, it's intelligible, but there's nothing like compelling about it, and it's not a game yet. Like, I could grab a microphone, go on the street, and ask a person who has no professional experience to come up with like 7 cool classes, and they would be cool. And then someone like me could go and design that into a whole game. And so when you think about that being where the money is right now, it's just like a really weird time for people like me to find a gig, because we're used to leading teams of people that go out and make a game, not teams of people that are specifically trying to make a generative AI thing that then tries to make a game. I don't know. It's weird. It doesn't bother me too much. I'm not that like, I ain't mad, bro. Let me do some peach skin on this guy. Maybe even darker. Might have to add some brown to it. Doesn't bother me, but like, I'm also a little bit. I've restricted myself in terms of what kind of gigs I can work, and the other like another I shouldn't say the other another like component is that a lot of companies that were like, hey, we're going to be remote forever, went like, JK, LOL, or not. And I'm not moving. I'm just not. It's not happening. I'm not moving for a job. So a lot of these companies that were previously hiring wherever aren't anymore. So I've taken myself sort of out of that market. But like, I have enough understanding of the business to know that like, all right, if you already live in California, you're kind of set. There's like enough places around that you can work. But if you're not, a lot of people that I know have moved very long distances for a game job and gotten let go, within months. Can't do that. It's just like, that would be like financial ruin for me. Yeah, it's really weird because like, it was funny because, I was managing people when COVID happened, and like productivity went up, like just raw productivity of like how much task work could get done in a given period of time. And I like, that's not like some crazy study or anything, but it went up. What you have though is a lot of companies that have a lot of money invested in a physical space, and it looks terrible to investors to see that you're spending all this money on a place that no one goes. And now that I'm running my own business and learning about depreciable assets, it's actually kind of like a weird liability that there's a lot of stuff on your taxes that you can claim, and basically get like a shelter for, because it's physical space, it's computers, it's all this stuff. If I buy, this is like the shorthand version of this, but like if I buy a computer for my business, my LLC, Go On Entertainment, there's just like a presumed amount of like loss of value that is a tax deduction for that business. It's crazy. Like spend $1,000 on a computer and get tax deduction because the computer will just be worth less over time. A little wild. My point here is that large companies are in a spot where like offloading a piece of property isn't possible because there's so many because so many businesses shut down. Keeping it but not being able to claim it because people don't show up to it, now that just becomes an asset. If it's not part of day-to-day work, then you can't claim it. So a lot of them have a bunch of real estate or a bunch of leases that they're locked into that they can't get that depreciation back for on their taxes unless people show up. Obviously, I'm rambling, but like a lot of these companies who are like, all right, remote makes sense. It was better for work. We absolutely can get better talent because we're not just sticking with who's local. Yeah. And I'm not moving. Not doing it. So those things in combination mean that like, yes, I am absolutely looking for work, but I've limited where I can go, and like it is what it is. Where's my guy that has flesh head? And I also, I am not remotely jaded about the industry, but one of the things I have seen in the last 10 years is that like it is harder and harder to find a place that you can like put your faith and trust into in terms of you ever having a job there continuously. And that stinks. When I worked at WB Games Boston, I was there for 10 years, which is in and of itself a lot for a game job. Um, but like all those headlines you saw about like tech jobs just like evaporating, between Meta, uh, Twitter when it was Twitter, when it got taken over, all these companies just like laid off. Yeah, yeah, oh yeah. It was yeah. Obviously, I've just spent like a half hour answering your question in the most roundabout way possible. I moved in here, and 2 months later, uh, I unemployed myself. Um, but like I had severance. Like it was a good gig. I did like the people in my old company, and it was just very weird that I finally found out firsthand what it is like to have creative differences actually put you in a spot where you can't get your job done. It's so weird. It's funny, like you hear that phrase creative differences and you're like, yo, just suck it up. And it's not about being unhappy. There's a certain point high enough up the chain where like I would have hurt the people I was working with by staying because I was never going to see things the same way as some people that I was essentially translating work for. So I've been happy. Hey, what's up, Shiny Mew? Um, but it's been a while. So I don't know. The hope is like 3 or 4 weeks. I at least get up into early access. It's not like this game's going to just like take off. It's not. I got no marketing for it. It's fun. I can only put so much into it because I got little kids. But get that ball rolling. Have some amount of income in that regard coming in. Have other side hustly stuff like doing curriculum development. I'm an advisor for a small company run by some friends of mine in Brazil, but that's an equity dealie. Slide into my DMs and whisper me those good nothings. Advice you. Ha! It's good to see you, man. All right, here we go. Let's add some more metallic to this. I think I'm just, in some spots, I'm just going to scooch around a lot, get some coverage on here. And then I'll pick other metallic colors to fill in more. Other brighter ones to make things pop. You never took me short. Dude, I'm sorry, buddy, but I'm a married homebody now. I just not that exciting. Ooh, sweet. I will go check that out in a second. Metal, metal, metal. So I have some brighter stuff on there already, so I can just sort of sneak it around. Just using what is broadsword silver. It's pretty dark, actually. I mean, it's because it's going over black. I'm just filling in between these lighter metallic bits. So some of it will operate as like metallic shadow. Not to sound completely haughty, but I don't want any of this to actually look black. Sable brushes, yeah. And a much nicer magnifying glass with light. Yeah. The I hem and haw over sable brushes. I have something right here. I use them. I'm not like I have days where I just want to use a synthetic. I absolutely do. So like I guess where I'm at is that like I do love my sable brushes, but like right now with what I'm doing, I'm actually using a Winsor and Newton synthetic. They make good synthetics too. Um, I think for the job you're doing, it's important to have both, which is good because then you don't wreck your sable brushes as fast. For a while, I was using Sable 24/7, and I was going through them, especially because I'm just kind of sloppy. Let's see. Let's pop this thing open. Let's see. Make sure I don't have anything crazy on here. My other screen, no tax information there. That's good. Oh, you go ahead and be weird about it. Do your thing, man. Be hella weird about it. Hello, peace. Sparkly hair. There it is. My little squirrel buddy. That's what we're after. This guy right here is my hero. Look at that guy. Oh yeah, and my face is over there too. Just go hide my face. So meta. This is a really genuinely like wholesome, fun model. Fire away. Like a nice little nod to Fallout. That's good stuff. Good stuff. But this guy right here, little squirrel with a helmet on. That's the jam. If we could all be so fancy free. Do our chosen duty to be launched into combat. I wonder if I shook this stuff enough. Did I? I'll flip it over. See if there's some pigment missing. This broadsword silver is look like I'm like, oh yeah, it's dark. And I'm like, is it that dark? Yeah, I think I fixed it. I think I fixed it. Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with being all weird about stuff. There's more than that. What the what? I caught peace sign and hello. Crazy hair. Spectral hair. Looks like it's in Skyrim. I feel like there should be some giant. Yeah. Caught this one too. I think I might have gone over. I hit these first. Is that just a background from VR chat? Like I haven't not actually not used VR chat. Like I wonder. It looks very well. I mean, it looks like somewhat generic fantasy, realistic background. It does make me feel like there should be some giant with a huge club. Ah, Skyrim World. Yes, I was right about something. Pretty rad. I gotta get my VR rig set up somewhere. Been negligent with it. Stuff's hella fun. I mean, all I have is like PlayStation VR from like last gen, but as a hoot. VR chat is daunting. See the world. I don't know if I'd have like enough time to like use VR chat on a regular basis, but it's just like interesting to me, like where all that is going. Whole communities of people, strangers, like that aspect of it is just it doth remind me, old man Otto, of the good old days of just like dropping into chat rooms like for the heck of it, which early on was like a it was like a just regular thing to do of just like I'm just gonna go hunt some chat rooms, not necessarily correlated to anything. The deep forums. But like even just in terms of like gaming back in the day, it was a lot of like I'm gonna go like we're talking like the AOL days and even preceding that a bit. Like I'm just gonna go drop into some chat rooms and just like see what's up. And not like what is that? Is it Omegle? Like the one where you literally just get paired with someone at random? Like I have no personal interest in that. And like VR does give you some degree of anonymity. Yeah, the TeamSpeak days. Yeah, you know what's up. I have some nostalgia for that whole just like I think it's nostalgia that I'm not going to like see through ever. That whole idea of just like just go hang. I mean, TeamSpeak was like it was crazy back then to just be able to just like pile in and be talking to people and Moss. It was insane. All right, this guy's metally enough. So the set you're getting tomorrow? Tomorrow? Oh yeah, you'll do fine with these. There you go. There's your 2-0. It's a big brush. Yeah, you'll be alright. And honestly, like getting a set of sable brushes for $29, pretty solid. Pretty solid. And you can certainly like you can go much more expensive. You can. Um, but like you are going to go through these brushes like that much is like 100% truth, as they are going to get like they're going to get dinged up. You're going to be using them and the requirement in terms of um, in terms of keeping them in good shape, that bar is a lot higher. Um, yeah. So, like starting out with a very affordable set, might be as far as you need to go. Because Sable really is like it is nice. Um, the first two Sable brushes I had though, I went through them fast. Like I murdered them. I almost did too. I was close. Um, Not for me yet. I got to chill out with that. But those orcs look dope, and I need more orcs. I need more orcs. What am I looking for? Not plate metal. Not shining silver. It's around here somewhere. It's hiding on me. Not mithril. Oh, it's just gunmetal. It's right here. All right, use that. I know a lot of people that are freaking hyped for that Tyranid kill team. And just getting different sculpts of those little buggers. Pretty big deal for a lot of folks. Actually, I can mix this gunmetal war paint with some of that speedy paint. I just got to remember that all this isn't going to be silver. Only some of it's going to be gunmetal-y. Mix, mix, mix. Get a little bit more shiny pigment in here. The only good bug is a dead bug. Get this nice and dark. Super grime, gunmetal. Get the iron sight on there. Yeah, that's pretty good. A lot of what I'm doing here is just a few things like chain blades, just so that everything isn't in what was it? Runelord brass? I think that's what I was using. God, I hope it was. Moss was standing, of course. Just so you know, not every bug is a bad bug. Just almost all. It's like I'm not racist. I love all people except the Dutch. What was that? I don't remember the exact quote. It was like Austin Powers, but pretty solid quote. Butterflies. That's good. That's good. That's good. Some of these are not going to have a crazy amount of gunmetal on them at all. Mostly going to be Lord Brass. Some of them, a little scooch of it. Little earpieces. Yoink. Bottom part of that. A bit around the back of there. Chain looks pretty good. I should scooch in a little bit more of this glop. Gently. This guy looks 3D printed? Is that a compliment? Under attack? Oh, the painting handle? Yeah, the painting handle is 3D printed. My buddy Sectorix designed this, and a friend of his sells them. I love it. Like you can weight the bottom of it. I just use a hair tie in there to hold it together, but this is absolutely 3D printed. I have like 4 or 5 of them. They're absolutely rad. The handle, that makes sense, because it is. Of course, now I'm just grabbing this thing by hand because it's only a couple little brush strokes on here. Still not a good idea. I should put them on a stand. Moving dangerously. but it's a good handle. Solid handle. Of course, the chain blade's up here. Not too worried about the accuracy there either. There's gonna be some blood on these blades. See if I can still have the link to this thing. Such a bad salesman. Terrible salesman. Does this link still work? Therein lies the question. It does. Look at that. I got a coupon on there. But that's it. And it's good. Yeah, this guy Dustin does the production for it. So they're the only ones I use. There's a big one too. Looks like the big Mamma Jamma. Obviously, Typhus isn't that big, but you can get everything up to like pretty thick boys up on here. Cool stuff. And you know, designed by a friend, so that's always nice. I like when people use ingenuity to come up with solutions to problems, and that dude is all about it. It's like Ingenuity 101. But yeah, a lot of times it's just good to have a place to like rest your pinky. And if you're doing like super tiny like detail work, like it's good to just turn the thing this way, have like something really easy to lean on or hook your finger on. It just keeps things a lot more steady. I'm definitely like pretty wobbly dude. I'm pretty sketchy when it comes down to it. Oop, get that little bolt. These little spikes up here, those are probably going to get Rune Lord brass too. All right. Get this horn he's got. Why not? Why not, buddy? The rest of that'll be brass. Gun blade. Trying to see if there are other spots on here that I don't want to do in brass. I'll get this grenade. Actually, I'll get all of his grenades. I'll get all your grenades, pal. This guy's still got a lot of brass to come, so I don't have to go crazy. Maybe he'll have 2 different colored knee pads. Savage. Savage. Now the paint doesn't really want to stick. So much for my priming method that I was absolutely touting. Starting to have regrets. But the show goes on. Looks pretty cool. I dig that. Good job, me. All the tiny spikes. You must be chaos. You are chaos incarnate. A little nubbin on here that I didn't snip off. That's not a spike. It's a piece of the sprue. Well, no, it's silver. Surprise! I will get. I don't even know what these things are called, but the little cups that hold these skulls, I'm going to get them in silver. Gunmetal, really. And then I'll do the skulls themselves in Runelord brass. I wonder if I should just get my Runelord brass out. Try to finish these guys one at a time instead of leaving another brass round to go. I'll just go through them right now. This way. I'm going to stick to what I'm doing. Stay the course. Faith in the process. I saw on Instagram. I can't believe it was the first time I saw this person's work. They had a Death Guard army. The primary color was white, not like bone white, like white, and it looked absolutely stellar. Absolutely, like totally inspiring work. Just seeing someone like take things like in a very different direction. Like it wasn't like one of those pallid bone takes and then like crazy amounts of grime over it. It was all white. Which I was like, man, good risk taking. And it had rust on it and stuff, but it was like very like tastefully done. I think I'm gonna have a swing at something very similar, like something that different. Maybe with the next box that I pick up whenever I do that. This side of the barrel. There we go. You're nice and silvered up. This guy is Huron is. Yeah, the steps shouldn't be very long on most of these models. Once again, though, full knee pad. Let's do it. Do it on some of them, not on all of them. That's pretty tight. Get our chain blades. Teeth. Those will do brass up there. I may come back with a gunmetal, and also like after I brass this thing up, there's like a lot of tiny controls, and I find that it looks pretty cool if like 95% of your model is maybe not 95%, maybe like one metallic, and then you've got like some of the little controls and doodads and gewgaws in a different one. Will be brass. He doesn't need any extra there. I'll get his bullets, bullettos, bolts, gun barrel. I'll get his iron sight. That will do you. Get the whole front face of this guy. And I may I think with a few of these dudes, I think I'm going to, after the fact, hit them with some weathering. Not all of them. Just another sort of differentiator model to model. So it looks like a proper pirate rabble. Like they're still in uniform. They got class. Not messing around. But quality of the bits consistent would be good. Like the rest of this guy's faceplate is going to be brass, but his little ocular shenanigans, maybe this little boop, earpiece, yeah, that won't be brass. Good, good. Differentiation. Get these tubes. That's probably something I'm going to need to go back with a lot. There'll be a lot of tubes, but you can get those at the very end. It's not a big deal because you don't even want to like full paint them. You just want to get the edge so that it fracks light a little bit, but leaves the grooves pretty darn dark. For this, I'll take an extra dab. This contrasty stuff just to darken it up a wee bit. Maybe get the inside of there. Yeah, maybe boop inside there too. Boop. Not too shabby. This passes more. I've got the stuff out. Let's do it than anything else. Grab some black. What used to be metallic contrast. There we go. Yeah, nice dirty metal. Edge of it. This is the guy that I said that cross thing was all going to be shiny. So now I got to make good by that. Make sure I'm not sitting with too much paint on there. Yeah, I'm leaving this guy's chest piece black. Need something strong to go across it, meet in the middle. It's not just a sea of black. He just looks blinged out. Gun I was leaving black, but I'll get those little shells that are in there. I'll do it. Look at his barrel. Big stretch, big stretch. Get these little tubes. Just dabbing. Get around the edge of this, but not the chest plate. Just hit those bolts a little bit. Rivets. Just scooching. Tiny little bit of tube. Oh yeah, that's right. He's got the backside of the male loincloth. Male. Loin mail. Email, loin mail. All up in there. All up in that biz. Alright, it's a little sketchy, but gotta get that cloak afterwards anyway, so we're just gonna get that in there. Grenade's good. Belt buckle's gonna be brass. Set them aside. More money, more problems. Oh, that's right, I did decide this guy's got a Space Wolf helmet mounted on the back there. Make it good and rusty. Oh, that's right. There's flesh on the inside. Clean this brush up a little bit. Grab some more of this like pink flesh stuff that I used on the first pass of Huron's head. There's nothing more terrifying than like that phase. Not even focus. That phase of like painting heads where you just like put one pass of paint on it. It just like looks worse than a piece of silly putty. It does look silly. That took like a long time for me to get over the like ugly moments of painting. Like there is no point at which that part looks good until you've gone over it a few more times with other colors. Like this right now is just absolutely disgusting. It's like, oh, just painting peach in there. Just gotta like trust the process. I've gone through it a couple of times. Oh, yeah, it just looks like I absolutely ruined the model. I didn't. Didn't, mind you, but man, some of those like first passes of things just look like absolute garbage. Check this over here. Still rocking. Money. All right. Does he have any other things that need gun? The chain blades. Always the chain blades. The teeth. Gotta get the teeth. Get some water off of there. I did very intentionally put some of these guys in like really weird arm positions. This guy's like, let's party. And like the pauldrons look like funny, um, twisted at that angle. Yeah, you heard about teeth. Chainsword teeth. Very important. Very important part of the process. It's good to see you, my friend. The teeth summoned you. Did I hear teeth? Somebody say teeth? Teeth summoned me from the lurk. The lurk is a real place. It's a realm in the warp where Mork and Gork fight over teeth. Get this edge here. Yeah, we'll get that edge right there. How you been, man? What you been up to? Put this on camera. Such an amateur. There we go. Good job, Chief. Nothing really. Good. Take nothing. No news, good news. Nothing is quite nice sometimes. That blade. What if I missed any of these so far? I probably have. I think one other of these models has a similar blade across his chest or belly. I should go back and peek for that. I think I missed it. Tubes, tubes, tubes. Every little tube gets a little bit of metallic love. Granado. Cross piece. The necklace sort of part. It's not really a necklace, it's part of the armor. But benefits from a different metallic. I'm trying to not like fully paint by numbers it. Just get some the sort of centermost part and try to keep a little bit of the recessed spots. So they stay nice and dark. You like see that texture on there. Don't want to completely destroy it. It's funny because like I've heard people critique some people's painting styles, like you're just doing paint by number. Paint by number is like an insanely popular hobby. I think that the only reason that Games Workshop hasn't, and maybe they did long ago, but doesn't have like paint by numbers write ups for these models is like just out of pride. A lot of people think paint by numbers is like lame. But like I wonder if you went and figured out with how many videos people end up watching on like YouTube of like someone's process. A lot of times there's a short clip that is like, oh, here's how I did this in 5 easy steps. And then like, okay, but you can watch the video and watch them do it for 2 hours. Like if you had a cheat sheet that was everything step by step with each color on it, and it was just like the 4 positions of the model, you know, front, left, back, right, maybe top also, just be safe. And it just had the number diagrams in there. Like if you wrote up a folio like that and put it on a PDF, I bet you could like make a decent amount of change selling it. I mean, honestly, like what I'm doing right now, and I'm doing stuff like some a little bit out of sequence here and there, is that a lot of what you do when you have like a full unit, if you're going to batch paint, is you're like, oh, what are the first things I'm going to do? I'm going to paint my reds. All right. That's like a couple panels of information of like, these are the spots that want to be red. These are the spots that want to be brass. These want to be silver. These are leaving black. You know, you'll wash these parts, do this, that. It's probably not the worst channel in the world. But I do wonder if printouts would be like also the way to go. Like if you had a YouTube channel and it like linked to like, even if it was like an Etsy and you just like printed them out to order, you're like, all right, here's how I do um like this kind of Necron army. The kind of things that you can absolutely batch paint. So like grots, orcs, whole bunch of orc vehicles. Like, oh, here's my method. Just go through these steps, and here are the diagrams that point to the spots. Yeah, like for real. Like I've never seen someone actually approach it 100% that way. And I think it would get traction. Kit bashing guide for orcs. It's not the worst idea. I mean, there's apparently like way more money than most people think in PDF guides. And it used to be back in the day, you'd be watching TV at like 3 in the morning, and it'd be like, here's how to start a business, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of those businesses they were telling you to start were like, just print out a guidebook for something and sell it. Because a lot of people do like to have a physical book. I will be back in a couple of minutes. In that I am out of coffee and I need some. So I'll be right back. I just got to go downstairs and get it. Go get it. back. I think if I was going to like do it all over again, in terms of like start up a channel, um, or like not do it all over again. If I was going to invest time in produced videos again, I'd probably do exclusively building and kit bashing. Exclusively. Um, there's a lot less information on that than there is on painting. Like everybody's like, "Oh, I'm this paint studio," and that's not. I'm not criticizing anyone for that. I'm just saying that like pretty universally, there's like no lack of people doing produced painting videos and then be like, join my Patreon and all that stuff. Whereas actually going in and doing produced um, videos about building specific kits and about like literally the title I'm I'm Grot and I'm a Grot and this is how to paint a Grot by numbers. Um, I think that painting, so you're not going to get a lot of long view stuff, traction from just like super long videos about painting one model. Just because there's so much competition out there. But you can get a lot of site visits from that. Like what you get is very little watch time, but you get a decent chunk of visits. Because someone who's painting Mortarion looks up Paint Mortarion, and you come up in their list, and they drop in to check out your produced video, but they have no reason to stay for a long period of time because they just kind of like want to see the color scheme you came up with. And I've like tested this. Like there's several of my videos on YouTube that, and I'm not good. I'm not some like name dude, but people just drop in and you can like YouTube shows you, what sections of the video people spent time on. And a lot of times it's like me mixing a couple colors of paint is like a very highly watched portion of the video. It's like because people just drop in quick for that kind of piece of information and then they're pieced out. But I feel like the big issue with that is that so many people have painted so many models. It's like, why do they even need to bother with any specific one? But building, kit bashing, man, they just don't seem as covered. Like, it would have been awesome to have someone who already told me that the directions tell you to put the treads on backwards on a plague burst crawler. That would have been nice to know ahead of time. One of those, like little things. Like, man, I wish someone told me. Because I think people think that the building part isn't sexy, perhaps. But even my videos here, just going live, like a lot of times when I'm building something, I get more traction than even when I'm painting. The building is very satisfying. If you're going to paint models, you got to build. I feel like there's far more irreversible problems in building than there is in painting by a country mile. The playbrush crawler's instructions have you put the treads on in the wrong direction. And it's not just cosmetic, they're a pain to put on the way they tell you to do it. It's totally like, whoops. And like if you're in the know, then you already get it. And like when you get to that step, you're like, oh, here I am in this infamous spot. If you're not in the know, you struggle with the treads, you put them on backwards, you go on the internet, you go on Reddit, and someone's like, yeah, the directions are backwards. That's how it be sometimes. Yeah, I know. It does not look bad. Like it thankfully like it I'm not sure anyone would legit know 100% because they're absolutely like, I mean, I guess a tank commander might know, but like they don't look horribly backwards. They just don't look good because the they don't hug the wheelie parts quite right. Um, it's just like it's a pain in the construction. It looks like you forced it. Um, but would have been good to know. Would have been good to know. And I will definitely not intentionally do them backwards next time because it looks cooler. It doesn't, and it just makes it a pain in the ass to get the build together. Spikes, spikes, spikes. So many happy spikes. A little bit more silver on there. Is it done? This guy's probably going to get another brass pass. Carrying a knife? You're not. One of these other guys has a knife. I know he does. I know I'm not crazy. Well, I am crazy, but I know one of them had one. There it is. It's the champ. It had to be you, buddy. Nice and thick so it stands out. I have no idea what the details on this guy's extra fiddly bits are. I'm just basically going to go into a couple different metallics and just pull up some of the various wild crap trophies he's got. But are you so crazy? A little bit of hardware on the gun. Hmm. There's chain work in there, but I got most of his stuff. Get this little center of this eyeball. Something a little lighter here. I may hit it with some color. If it's just a wash later on. So so the thing is, like, I just find in some spots, not even in some, it's certainly not as bad as it used to be back in the like Forge World days, but there are just some parts, even with the instructions, that are kind of a pain to get done right. When I think about Chthonian Berserks, it's just like, all right, if you got in there and it wasn't your first time doing it, and you learned something that made that build easier, like that would actually be someplace I might subscribe to. Be like, hey, I should just make sure I'm getting informed when this person's stuff comes out. Leave that. A little bit more chain. All right. And I've still got the paint on the palette if I need it. So when I switch over to brass, if I find a couple spots that I want to do as gunmetal, even then, I'm still good. I'm always good. I mean, I absolutely ran into issues with orc stuff where it was like, hey, like, oh my god, the bikes. Like, yo, chop off this piece of the handlebars. How far along? I'm not actually going to like really indicate that. There are absolutely spots that are like, hey, at this step, anyone who's done it before is like, you really should do this thing. Classic example is the boxier tanks. Yeah, Reddit's not bad. Reddit is not bad at all. Unfortunately, like I think my only thing there is I think there's a market for people that want to see you do it, like see it, see video of it. I don't know how like loyal that would be, but like Reddit is excellent for the actual printed information of do this instead of do that. Um, but yeah, so the boxier tanks, like really what you ought to consider, even the boxier builds, because some of the organic stuff is similar. There's a lot of models where it just makes sense to put these specific two of the four sections together and elastic band it overnight and just let it sit, then try to build through it. There's several cases that are like that. The Hellbrute's like that. It's got the body of it, and I'm guessing the standard loyalist sarcophagus box is the same, where it's got a front, back, left, right, and they all have to be lined up the right way for things to like really make sense. In a lot of cases, it's just like, all right, you should really elastic band this. The Rhino is absolutely that case. Any of the boxer builds where it's get these four panels together, like would be really good to see someone who's got like some decent techniques for handling that. Like I ended up finding out from someone, and it wasn't like they had pictures of it, but I ended up just like in chat with an old buddy, and they were like, you want to. It was when I was building my Rhino. They're like, you want to elastic band around these two sections and just like let it sit overnight so it's nice and fused, so that you're not sitting there just like accidentally knocking the pieces apart or out of alignment, for the whole rest of the build. And it was true, and it worked. It was good. But I guess, long story short, I think the painting market is saturated. I don't think the building market is saturated at all. It's ripe, just waiting for an enterprising grot to capture the hearts and minds of the people. Just a little bit of gunmetal on here. It's thinned out and darkened, just so that those tubes look tubey. Then I'll get his bullets, his bolts. And his barrel. I'm gonna leave his iron sights red. Cool looking on this dude. Oh yeah, and I gotta get those. Ah ha ha. Yes, you are not complete. Get all the way around this skull so it stands out. All the way back here. And I'll scooch this brush. Oof, just dab it a couple times up there. Oop, dab it a couple times up there. Non-shabby. the teeth. These guys are coming along. I'm not going to be sitting on these models too much longer. Progress is starting to show. A lot of times with things like the chain blades, you're like, oh, okay, this guy's starting to look like he's getting there. Little bits of tubes. Other mechanical fiddlies. Not trying to absolutely fill them in completely. Just some little dabs in there to make sure it's machinery looking. Before I go back to all that brass. This now signifies that I can do that. What I am going to do is hit some flesh with a very quick pass of something fleshy. What'll it be? Reichland flesh shape? Sure. Sure, that's red. Give us a shake. Like, I'm not going to be able to do any crazy detail on Huron's head or this other guy's head, but having that one pass of a wash on overnight so that it cures is good. Faces are definitely something that are absolutely like the fast forward YouTube thing. Maybe the best example, people like showing the work they do on heads and faces of just like, oh, it's just these easy steps. Like, you cannot do all those steps unless you put days between them. Get some of this off of here. I do want it to pull in some spots, but not in others. Stuff takes mad layers. Actually should hit this guy's hair also with a wash. Getting this crap out of the way is good. My method of doing faces now is pretty simple, and I still suck at doing faces. Just do a very flat color, darker wash as my first pass before I'm going to do anything else to it. I know people that are really good with faces like treat it like it's this beautiful canvas, but that has never worked for me. Just not. Starting out and going like directly into like layer upon layer of ultra thin paint, barely anything on the brush. Just my eyes just don't deal with it. Don't process it the right way. I got to get some of the shape and detail stuff to scream out at me before I get down to it. So I lay on a pretty hefty amount of wash, and then I just sort of pick some up. But after a day of curing, this is a starting point. It's just way better for me. And I'm not going to do anything wild with this guy, but his head is all jacked up, like all screwed up. I'll probably put like a little bit of extra metal in there. I'll shade him a little bit. But it's one of those steps where like, just get it out of the way. Get a first pass. Brings up texture. You know, alternatively, it's like, all right, hit it with a flat color and then dry brush it. That works too. Need something dark, but not crazy. Maybe it's still red. Maybe. Not sideboard brown, I'll tell you that much. Contrast, I don't think I want to go that crazy. Maybe I do. Maybe I do. Trying to make this guy's crazy top knot thing a little bit wild. This might be too much. It's okay. I paint over this thing 50 times if I need to. I'm gonna use Sigfold Burgundy, which is pretty strong stuff. Hopefully that'll sink in nice. I'm gonna add some, a pool of water to the old wet palette, just so I could thin this stuff out, because it's like got a little purpley magenta in it. Oh yeah, well, that definitely colors that up as a commitment, a hard commitment. But hey, it is the champ, and I don't want to accidentally pull his ass off the board thinking he's just some rank and file pirate. Now I won't, because he's got pretty hair. I do, maybe I spent too much thought on this, but like I know myself pretty well as a player. Doesn't mean I know the game all that well, but the possibility of me pulling this guy off the table instead of some other jabroni is pretty high in the heat of battle. I do stuff to mark stuff out. I do make whole units like this of primarily the same build out, like chainsword and pistols, so that I don't have to think as much about them. I'd be like, this is your job. Go take this point. You're tough. Huron's good at taking and keeping points. I'm essentially rolling almost the same dice across the board. It's easier to keep track of the dice math when you're not splitting this between when it's not a plague marine unit where like everybody showed up with some different object out of their garage. All right. I think my next pass on these guys is going to be all Rune Lord brass. I think Huron can probably sit aside. Maybe I'll pick him up again. But he's a little wet in some spots. I'm going to be a little careful with him. There are a couple guys that desperately need more Rune Lord brass. Or any. Any is probably a more fitting word. Just thorough the brush cleaning. Yeah. Synthetic brushes can take a whooping. And the reason I'm not using Sable on this is I am obviously going back and forth between some thick paints, including metallics. I'm not being that kind to this brush. Like I am washing it in water and a little bit of isopropyl. But I'm not treating it like something special. The Sable will come out for like Abaddon, Vashdor, stuff like that. Brass it up. Make sure I'm not too thick on there. Yeah. Ooh, maybe I will just hit the edge of this one. The way this pauldron is, it might actually look good mostly staying black if I can get it right. Yeah, it might look good. It's gonna hit the whole edge of it, but maybe just the edge, the raised edge of it. You guys scoot back. Give a brother some space. And I'll hit the spikes a wee bit. Yeah, it looks pretty chill. That looks classy. I dig it. All right, make sure the paint's reasonably thick, but not a lot on there for these. So I'm just trying to hit the tips. And then you do it from one direction, you do it from another direction. These squared off pyramid spikes, you can't really stab down at them and get all the way around them. You just got to look at the different angles, just paint them as flat faces, really. And still end up missing some. But that's okay. I guess you can get two angles at the same time, but trying not to hit the actual base of the pauldron itself. That would be poopy. Pro term. Poopy. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. I think that might be a pauldron that I bought. I got some extra 3D printed bits for these guys. I guess it's kind of a good sign that I can't tell which ones are and aren't at this point. I guess that's a good thing. We got some coherency to look. What am I going to do about that little recessed spot? I don't know. I don't know. We'll get this little bolt. My connection is hella unstable. It's blurry AF. All right, well, it is what it is. Actual feed is blurry as heck. One time I take a nap. It's good to see you. You gotta take more naps so that statistically it's not the one time you took a nap. How you doing, buddy? I gotta tell you, naps are good. Naps are way better than watching any stream. Catch them when you can. Had a good day, but didn't sleep well last night. I'm actually kind of surprised that I'm on here right now because I had one of those nights last night where a 4-year-old wasn't sleeping. She ended up like crawling in our bed and was just like a nut. I didn't wake up nearly as much as my wife did, but it was not. I think what I proved today is me streaming has nothing to do with how tired I am. I think it does, but it doesn't. Yeah, it's tough when you don't get a good night's sleep. I used to be absolutely fine with that for years. There was no way for me to get a good night's sleep. I was just working too many gigs or drinking too much, one or a combination of the two. Now I need it. Played a boarding action modified game versus the Lion. Your salamanders managed to take him out. I feel like I want to understand boarding actions. I feel like I do. I feel like they're vastly underutilized format. Moth was like, oh, I can't remember what the exact question was. I think he was putting together a Death Guard team and was like, what's this guy like? What's that? I think he was asking about like Master of Executions to someone else. I don't remember the exact context of it, but it was boarding actions, and I was like, oh, let me look at these rules, and I was like, wow, this does sound pretty freaking cool. Hmm. Hmm. I don't dislike the line, but I'm glad you beat him. It's like a good feather in cap. You're so close. I think you were saying the other night you're just like have some terrain to work on. Is that like it? Cheers to you, my friend. Oh, sweet, something happened. I heard one of my sound effects. I don't know if that means a follow, but I'm on a weird screen right now. Yeah, this is part of my Chaos Space Marine army. I've decided my army is going to be like a motley hodgepodge of different crews, and Red Corsairs is just a great idea. Um, I can say that because I didn't come up with it. But for me, it's going to be solid because like these guys are going to be like backbone of take an objective and just park on it and be annoying. Um, Badger casually challenged me to finish it all next month. That's good. Casual challenges are the best. No pressure, but fucking get it done. And we should all paint terrain in April. I like the sound of that. Weather will be nice. I've got Huron. Got a lot of work to do on him, but this will be led. Oh, you know what? I should put some paint on his little buddy too. Huron's little buddy. But yeah, the Red Corsairs is just like such a cool, interesting backstory, and they serve like this very important, very classic purpose in the 40k universe of like Huron's just like, yo, I got this port of call. If you're down with chaos and you need to like refuel and refit your ship, it's like running Moss Isley. And he's a total hot mess. That poor guy. He had been through so much. When you're like happy to have Night Lord's guys show up to do a medical exam on you, you know you're in pretty rough shape. Oh, Huron. But I'm having a lot of fun painting these guys. I think they're gonna like have a very cut a good profile on the table. will certainly stand out. Though I'm making so many different motley units that maybe none of them will stand out. We'll see. We'll see if I eat those words. I want to go for that Chaos Space Marine army that is not just a core Black Legion-y thing. Not that I mind that, and I think I'll end up eventually having 2,000 points of that stuff. But you know, taking Legionaries and just like picking faction, chapter, legion, it's gonna keep me more interested. All right, Moth. Drive safe. Talk in a bit. Like, I don't know that I could just do straight up black and gold for 2,000 points. I think I'd just like, I think I'd pop. I'd just pop. There's attachment and 10th is simple fun. Yeah, all guns have assault and -1 AP against targets on objectives. Yeah, that's, I mean, literally, like, I'm probably for this army going to paint my Rhino as as a Corsair's Rhino as well. All these guys, with the exception of, I don't remember if it's a champion or boss guy of Legionaries in the unit, but the one guy with the fist, with the exception of him, these guys are all chain swords and pistols. That's it. They're pirates. They're like boarding pirates. Enhancement that gives you, yep, 16th scout. Yep. Oh, Land Raider. I am still naive to the Land Raider assault ramp shenanigans. I've actually only been playing the game for like a year or so now. So there's still stuff that's off my map. But I'm going to look that up. I actually don't know what a Land Raider does. Like, legit. Wahapedia. Assault rank. Each time a unit disembarks from this model after it has made a normal move, that unit is still eligible to declare a charge. Oh, yeah. Sweet. Yeah, that makes sense. Good lord. Now, is a Land Raider a, like, the, it's the Rhino chassis just built slightly different? Is that the case? It's the bigger tank. All right, well, I guess I need a bigger tank. I do like tanks. It's the bigger tank with the dumbest lore possible. Perfection. That's what I like to hear. A special place in my heart for the dumbest lore. Land Raider's almost twice the size. I like the size. I'd like big tanks, man. Like the sound of that. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to get one. Oh, here we go. Is it actually because of the Oakland Raiders? I mean, it does seem like Land Raider does seem like a pretty straight up. Oh my! Is this? That's I like stuff like that. There was a time where games and IPs and lore for like fantasy and sci-fi stuff just like we're obsessed with. Oh, it is Arkan Land. No, it's good. I like Archenland. The fact that that's why a Land Raider is a Land Raider is just like I get that you want to be a little tongue in cheek with it. Um, I like that Archenland is just like upset and egotistical all the time that I've read about him. But it's like the name Harleen Quinzel. It's like you don't have to be that tongue in cheek all the time. Like, oh, Harley Quinn's name or birth name is Harleen Quinzel. Like, oh, and that's why she ended up Harlequin. Like, all right. Like Mr. Freeze's real name being like Freeze. It's just silly. I mean, I guess more power to you, but like that sort of like, haha, get it part. It's just like, oh, brother. Oh, that's why land speeders and land speed. Like, oh, good lord. Yeah, like chill out with that. Just block that guy. He's gonna get some red clean up in a bit. Like everything doesn't need a super stretchy rationale. Yeah, it's pretty silly. I mean, obviously, I'm laughing about it, but maybe it's not that bad. Maybe I'm just old and cranky. Yeah, it's oh my god, yeah. I used to work for Warner Brothers, so I'm deeply familiar with like just just how much stretching. Yes, that is like the Stardy's part. Kind of okay with that one. Kinda. I don't know. It's I can't be too judgmental because I've worked on like a lot of big IPs and they all get out of hand. But there was absolutely this era um, where across fun media for games and sci-fi and comic books, everyone was trying to like tongue in cheek every single name. It's like, guys, just chill out. Edward Nigma. Like, oh my god. Begging for Enigma Balls joke. But it is what it is. Stuff's hard to write. And you always have to keep in mind that like Warhammer takes itself way more serious than it used to be. Like, you know, the the old sculpts were very toy like, very toy like. And it was, it was being marketed differently and it was a different era. And, somewhere along the way, they got exceedingly serious with the IP. And, I come along that later step. There's nothing wrong with it coming out of something deeply toyish. Even if you look at it like the old ads, I mean, it's like 14-year-old kids lined up at the store, which is cool. Um, which is absolutely cool. But that's where they were going. And like lo and behold, you have a game and its system and its IP and all that stuff last long enough. I do think it's genuinely cool that you can then go back and be like, yo, like these people are grown ass adults now that started with this. We can write the Horus Heresy and have it be like crazy, like rich novel writing based off of something that used to, with all due respect to it, like visually in a lot of ways was in like He-Man territory. Come a long way, baby. And I'm just along for the ride as a new guy, relatively. But I do think that's like its history is a super important part of it. I wouldn't want to diminish that at all. I would love to make a game that lasted 30, 40 years. I would be honored to do so. There we go. He's reasonably shiny. Red on that side, mostly black on that side. So I'm going to get his, whatever the elbow piece of armor is called. Get that in brass also. This guy's got a little bit of a lefty righty jam going. When did Age of Sigmar come out? Age of Sigma, if I use my true New England accent. It's absolutely fun to nitpick and make fun. And I don't begrudge anyone, most importantly myself, that either. Um, Somewhere between taking it too seriously and in one direction and then taking it too seriously in the other, somewhere in between all those is like a good sweet spot to have fun with it. I mean, I think Auditor, like, or no, that's Badger. Sorry. I saw green. Um, Keeping someone's attention now is kind of a big deal. I wonder though, like I go back and forth on this a little bit because I think we are finding people that are often like now searching for something that can keep their attention long because they have so many frivolous tiny little things going on. But I think if I'm reading you right, I think the part there that's like an important nugget is that like could you make a game that could stand the test of time like Warhammer? Could you start one up today? And that's very questionable as to whether or not you could. Part of the momentum, inertia, not stop inertia, but keep going inertia that Warhammer has is because it started in an era where people were picking up hobbies that D&D same thing, like picking up a hobby that they would go like hog wild for years on in terms of gaming. Um, like most people don't pick up a tabletop RPG these days and necessarily stick with it. Like nowadays it makes sense where like even if you have a group of buddies that you tabletop with, you mix it up. Whereas back in my day, like I had there was a D&D campaign that I was in, there was a Shadowrun campaign that I was running, and there was a Palladium campaign that I was in. And those three campaigns were just like we ran those things into the ground like forever. It's curious though. Like, I mean, the flip side is that like, well, Warhammer is around to be picked up like by people like me. later on, who've only been around for a couple years max in the hobby. Um, it stayed long enough to be available and to mature and to immature and to develop and get bigger and eventually have plastic models that are not too much of a pain in the butt to do. Um, it was around long enough to do that. I wonder the ironic effect of too much content is a diaspora to smaller nuclei. Yeah, no, it's certainly legit. And like I do stick with stuff, and I don't like to make like sweeping generalizations. I understand that like attention span and long term um, or delayed gratification are big challenges. Um, at least how we perceive like younger generations of folks. But amongst some people that are the most difficult to pin down on the same thing for a long period of time, like some of those people now go straight to Warhammer. Um, so I wonder. I guess what I'm getting at is have did Dungeons and Dragons and Warhammer push everyone out for so long that um, you can find something far more specific to one's taste, but the community will be smaller? It's interesting, like, and has it just converted? Like, the number of people that still play World of Warcraft, which has been around for 21 years. Like, I think it was in beta when I was in college the second time. It was definitely like I was playing it the year I got out. So it's been like 20, 21 years. Um, there's people that have played it the whole time, but like, does that count? Like, I I don't think I think playing video games is a hobby, but I don't think that playing a video game is hobbying. Maybe that's just like old man take, but like I think World of Warcraft is great, but I that to me is not nearly the same thing as like Warhammer or D&D or carpentry or crochet. By time investment, yes. What I'm getting at though is that if WoW is not timeless, it's a live service. WoW is a job, yeah. For realsies, it's a live service. So like I don't think, even though it's like it's not because it's less interactive. I don't think that watching a very long term TV show is hobbying. Like if I was like, hey, I'm gonna watch all of Law and Order from the beginning to the end, that might take me years to do. I think there's a good amount of engagement there, but I don't see that as hobbying in the same way I don't see WoW as hobbying. Something like crochet is like as long as you have um, yarn and some hooks, like you're doing it. As far as something like Warhammer goes, like if they stop putting out, even if they stop producing anything, um, with the amount of plastic that exists in the world that is already pressed into sprues, the amount of paint that's out there, and 10th edition as it exists today, or any previous edition, like you still would have circles of people doing it. And maybe it's just the hobby word, like the I mean, obviously the players matter in WoW, but um, hobbying, I feel like the players or users or engagers like are what make the thing a hobby. People absolutely. I gave away my first edition stuff to a designer that I worked with and lived with. It was just like years ago, like as a gift. Yeah. And like if Blizzard Activision shuts down WoW, it's done. If there's no more way, like people, yeah, here's an example. People in I think I got another follow. Headphones are doing weird things. Yeah, I still play second edition. Uh, if you shut down WoW, it's done. And yeah, someone could try to start up their own server, but people, I know of people in both Brazil and the Philippines that play Warhammer. What's up, Rose? Um, with fiddly bits. Like they literally kit bash everything out of stuff that is yeah, I mean I just been working on my homebrew chapter. Yeah. Hey, what's up, Judas? Or Judas? Like I don't consider chess playing to be a hobby, even though it's like a multiplayer in person thing. But I think people that like make their own chessboards and play chess are somehow hobbying. It's weird. I put video games in a not a bizarre space, but like in their own sort of um in their own sort of place outside of hobbying because I make them, and it's if it's not the same for me, then it can't be the same for anyone. Um, it's just my dumb opinion. It's not that dumb. It's right, but there's something different. Did I not brass the insides of that? I didn't. How is your homebrew chapter going? Keep getting this paint on these guys. I have the following. Came back to the hobby after years of busy life. Fantastic. I just came into the hobby a couple years ago after years of basically avoiding it because it seemed even too hardcore for me. And I make video games for a living, so Caius Jan, chess and games might be closer to sports than hobbies. You may be correct on that. I think that that is a very good distinction. I think actually, yeah, I 100% agree with you there. Legit. Basic reference sheet. Memorial kindly made by someone else for me. Nice. Chapter master's name, chapter's homeworld, gene line, founding picked. Do tell. This is an entirely good space to just blab ad infinitum about custom chapters. Red on that side, black and gold, so black and brass on that side. He's trimmed up decently. His helm looks okay. I think this guy's in good shape. Top part of this a little bit better. Yeah. Get in here a little bit. Make sure I get over here a little bit. Chess boxing is a thing. Yes. I want to play Battle at the Farm from Rogue Trader with 10th edition rules. I don't know what Battle at the Farm is. Auditor, you go way back, buddy. Way, way back. I got to buy a bunch of pictures and material again. It's it's a thing. Not gonna lie to you, this hobby like snuck up on me very swiftly. I never thought I'd be streaming or doing crap on YouTube. I certainly didn't think I was going to paint this many models. I know, but like boxing chess is one of those things to me that is like such a logical conclusion because each of the two aspects like plays into the other one so well. Like obviously, if you're a better boxer than me, you might just knock me out. But like if we're very similar on both sides and I get a couple good punches in, like you may not play chess so well in between those rounds. Like there's the opportunity for things to swing one way or the other. And to sort of shake your tree a little bit by messing you up in chess and making you wonder if you got any shot of winning. Because I might crush you in between this round and the next, so then all of a sudden you gas yourself out trying to box me. Like that's so good. Yeah, and over here going affiliate was like after a long like after being monetized on YouTube. Not that I've ever seen a penny, but like I had already been going for it, and then I was like, oh, this seems really interesting, like this streaming thing. Um, I didn't think that was like way faster than it should have been, but it's a pretty amazing community of folks over here, and a lot of people just like very kindly dragged me along for the ride. It's pretty sweet. I do, I do. I that to me is like the true testament to, and I know there's a bunch of people that do this hobby that absolutely suck. Don't get me wrong, but like I met so many freaking cool people by doing this, and that was not like an expected outcome. Like I legit do not like. I don't have any trouble making friends by any stretch in person, but like I got a decent amount of like stranger danger to me, and everybody that I've met here, virtually speaking, it's been super cool. It's good, like it's wholesome, and I respect the fact that like at this age, not that easy to make friends, and I wasn't really looking for it. I was just like, I'm gonna go on here and like learn to paint by doing, just get better and better. But I find streaming to be like a truly interesting and good way to just like meet cool people. Oh yeah, it's absolutely therapeutic. That is 100% the exact word that I use. And I've been getting less and less painting time in the intervening couple months. It's just got a lot on my plate. But like not unlike going to like formalized therapy, when I don't paint for a while, like I do not feel as good as a person. Is like really rounded me out doing this hobby. Shit, I don't even drink anymore. Any sort of normal basis, like I will have a drink a few times a year, but like talk about that in terms of therapy, like yeesh, night and day. But yeah, it's extremely therapeutic, and like I'm not a very public person, and so like doing this in front of people should be horribly vexing. It's like nightmare fuel. Like I have like social anxiety at the clinical level. And yet somehow painting models, I do have a decent charisma score. Um, Painting models in front of people just doesn't bother me. It's fun. Taking people along for the ride, having like great conversations about stuff. Yeah, it's funny. I don't like dislike drinking. It's just like that was like absolutely a pastime of mine that for some reason has just worked itself out of my routine. A lot of that is having kids, but a lot of it, well, part of it is that I just like, I can't imagine I would enjoy painting drunk at all. And I am definitely not like a chill out and like, I'm not going to drink a beer. It's just not my way. It's fun. It's like genuinely a lot of fun. I love the fact that this hobby leaves you with stuff. Get way more money for models. Um, like I This is barely my collection sitting up on a shelf behind me. Like more than well more than double that is like sitting out where I play. Its own set of shelves. And like the collectability of stuff is is a big part. It's neat to have all these things that you painted, even if you don't play, that you just like have on display. Uh, Getting back to Gilliman, you do have some work ahead of you. That model's scary to me. As I sit here painting trim, um, Gilliman's a beautiful model, but it's like a like crazy Sistine Chapel kind of jam going. I have a 3D printer. I've never gotten it working. Um, I I think I think I've found like the perfect level of rabbit holeness. I don't mind it because like I am in a spot, sort of, as an adult where like I can afford this hobby. Like realistically, I can afford it. It's not it's not a terminal thing, and the speed at which I paint, um, I'm not going to put myself out. Um, I as a like gamer am very have always been very intent on painting things so that I can put them on the table and get them killed with my poor decisions. I will spend a decent chunk of time on set piece models. Um, but when it comes to like infantry, I'm not just like flying to get these guys done, but I'm not going to treat infantry like Mortarion or Rodigus or Scarbrand. I just don't. I sort of look at how many points they're worth on the table and make a judgment call. I do personally find that like part of the craft that I'm impressed with is people that do churn stuff out, and I don't mean rush, but like I had an absolute blast. Actually, it was Badger that was doing it. Was can't remember what the box was, the one with the Skaven box, and yeah, my knights I take my time with. Um, yeah, I did paint Mortarion. He's not here. He's out in the barn. Um, but Mortarion was very early in my painting career, and yeah, Scaventide in 30 days. Like that to me is like really good and entertaining to like be a part of watching. And that's like managing your paint time very well and like rocking stuff out. To me, that's a very important part of the hobby too. Um, but like people spend like 100 hours on Mortarion. Now, admittedly, this is like it would take me longer now because I know how to do more things and I would go slower. But like 15 hours is I think what it took me to do Mortarion, and for me at the time that was like an amazing amount of time. Yeah, Badger's savage. Um, and I filmed it all and it's floating over on YouTube at the time. But like that to me was a long period of time. Well, that was the first like, yeah, yes, indeed, that's right. It is all documented. Um, Now, if I did Mortarion, I'd say I probably still wouldn't take more than 25 hours on it. Like knowing how I paint differently now and what I would potentially like add into the mix, I don't think I'll ever be one of those people that puts like 100 hours into a single model. But I love the fact that you can. Like I love the fact that there is enough in terms of technique and care that can be taken that it warrants really sitting down with a model and getting in on it. But like Rodigus, I spent a lot of time on. My Knights, I spent a lot of time on. Mortarion, relatively speaking, spent a lot of time on. I don't have a problem with going crazy on detail. But my end goal is getting these little fuckers on a table, pardon my French. Getting them murdered. Walking them into gunfire. Getting people shot. Spent too much time on everything except basing because I draw the line. It's you run at a pretty decent pace, buddy. Um I do find quite often though that like I think I gravitate towards um larger, geographically sized, larger, thicker models as being like where I put a lot of effort into. Um because I get bored. And I don't mean like bored, but like I feel like when I am done painting these red Corsairs, like I'm gonna be pretty all set with red Corsairs for quite some time. Part of the reason I got into Death Guard as my first army is that they are like each model is pretty darn unique, like pretty heavily unique. And I knew that was gonna, aside of like just my general love of all things like funky mutated undead, I knew it was gonna keep my interest for a long period of time. Plague Marines all have like their own special sauce on each and every one of them. And I understand that like that is true of many armies. It's just a matter of like the level of subtlety with it. Um, but I just man, like they're all so unique. Yeah, Votan's interesting. Votan is like leather jackets, funky hair, fur fringe on coats. Yeah, from what I know, and I've painted some amount of old models. All this plasticky stuff is pretty freaking cool. I don't think I would have survived the hobby if I had picked it up earlier in life. I think I would have gotten too frustrated. Or perhaps that's what kept me away. It was just like seeing other people do it and being like, I think that's a bit too much. But now, like the idea of like going out and buying a kit, having it be relatively within my wheelhouse to do a good job with it, good enough for tabletop, like it's in a sweet spot. Yeah, 16 years ago. Crazy, man. Crazy. Time flies. I think it's a good time for you to be coming back. There's a lot of good stuff. It's a celebration. I just absolutely waste too much time on my orcs because they're fun. They are. I more and more want to start painting some red orcs. True classic colors. I've seen some really great shots of them in red. I'm like, man, that does really look good. But that'll be a bit. I got some time. Maybe if I do pick up that new kill team, they'll look good in red. Yeah, you can't let the hobby space linger too long in between spots. It's dangerous. Like one, because you just don't have the ready outlet. But two, because like you run the risk of like, well, I haven't had my stuff together in a while, and then you sort of like starts to work its way out of your habit set. The other thing I've started doing is just like breaking up my day a little bit with like little micro painting tasks, which has been helpful. Trying to find on Google one of the last models I painted. Space Marines look crazy different now. If there are enough people on this channel that can probably answer your question faster than Google, in terms of what you painted, if you remember anything. Yeah, or that. Iron Priest. Wow, you're gonna make fans here. That is a wild old model. Good old memories. Yeah, nice. What am I doing with this guy? What are you doing, buddy? Primaris. So I think, and folks correct me if I'm wrong, the like easiest understanding of the size jump to Primaris is that the Grey Knights don't have Primaris models. Is that correct? They're still in like the old stocky build. Am I correct in saying that? Yeah, they're old Marines. Yeah. The few times I've seen the models in person, like laid out somewhere, it's like, man, you guys are chunky, stunty. Are you saying that it's like enough lore bound now? Because it definitely sounds like they just didn't have time to make new models at some point. But is it like lore bound enough where they're never going to be the big size? They're never going to be big boys? I mean, obviously, never say never. Well, when did Primaris stuff come out, though? Like, it's been quite a bit. You should just stay short. Eighth? Oh, it was. Okay, so it hasn't been that long. For some reason, I thought it was like earlier than that. Hmm. Hmm. All right, that makes sense. I wouldn't be surprised if Call had that going. At 2017. All right, so it has not been that long at all. I learned something new. And eighth edition was when Death Guard became a real boy. I think. Yeah, I know. Call is so funny. I'm glad I finally read some stuff about him, like focused on him. Guy's such a funny goon. The book where he sort of matches wits with our Lord and Savior Fabius Bile is like a genuinely good read. Um, and it's interesting in that they are both cast like very well in it. In terms of like sometimes when you're reading a book from one side, loyalist or not, the other side is like a little buffoony, and it's like, yeah, they're the villains in this one, so they sort of get like the short end of the characterization stick. But like Call and Bile like match wits, and it's actually like pretty interesting stuff. Neither of them comes off as like the straight up dummy. Oh yeah, now the books. Yeah, you do. The book's gonna get you. And there's plenty of Horus Heresy BS to catch up on. And unfortunately, a lot of it is really good. Hey, you work your way into it, man. Let's drop the brush. That would have been very sad making. A little sloppy. Just hit the edge of this. And this hook here. I'm gonna go a little deeper than that. I lied. I'm full of it. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of reading. But like having a bunch of good books lined up is not a bad thing. It's a little daunting. I'm not sure I like how this looks, but we're keeping it. So there. As a big Death Guard fan, as much as they are the villains in the books, the Plague Wars books is a trio of books of like Mortarian's pissed he wants to go after Gilliman after he comes back. They're good books. It does give you the look at like Gilliman coming. There's more books on Gilliman coming back itself, but I haven't read those. But I can recommend the Plague Wars books. They were good, and they're good Death Guard books. So there's that. Oh, you know what I'm gonna do? You know what I'm gonna do? Take a little bit of wash from somewhere. What wash am I going to use? I got a couple little recessed bits in here that would do well from just like almost pin washing them. Yeah, Berserker Bloodshade. The Booty Man. It's funny, as someone who's like completely heretical, I do appreciate Booty Man. I like him. I'm not afraid to say it. I like the guy. He's a hoot. You know what? I'll just hit this whole thing and let it get in the recesses. Take that. Take that gun. I have bought a lot of paints. Not gonna lie. I am using a lot of my Citadel stuff. I don't bash Citadel at all, but I got like that whole rack of Army Painter stuff on the wall too, so I don't have any like super specific paint loyalty. I do like the Army Painters Fanatic set a lot, and I use it, and it's like a good solid range of different stuff which I like. And a lot of them are like color coded. Not color coded. They're in bands of color. Like it'll show you on the side of this that like these are magentas, and so there's like 6 different ones in that line. And if you're looking for complementary stuff, and you're not from a formal art background like me, it's kind of nice to just be able to like, oh, these are complementary. I give them a shot. Lo and behold, they work. But there's still like there's a lot of Citadel stuff that I do like, and they took a beating for like everybody was bashing their paint the year I started. And there are some things about their paint that are not really that great in some spots, but their stuff that's good is really good. Yeah, the Army Painter makes really nice stuff. Their reds are a little weird. I'm not sure they're as bad as some people make out. But it was a little bit of a struggle for me to get used to them when I started. I think they're better than I thought they were. But for the most part, what's really good about the Fanatic stuff is that the paint consistency is very consistent across the board, even starting to get into metallics. And so when you start to get a little bit of like, we'll call it muscle memory on painting, if you're using Warpaint's Fanatic stuff, every time you open a bottle, it's a very similar experience. I like a lot of Viejo's stuff. Viejo's Black Wash, I absolutely love, and it's just like journeyman level, but good black wash. I always end up going back to them for several things. Some of the I like some of their weathering stuff is really good. I have some AK stuff. I have some inks, my metallic inks I get from Liquitex. Lots of different stuff. You pick things up though. Like a lot of what I end up doing here is just like yapping with folks about shop stuff, like what kind of stuff that they're into. Like, you know, for a pure white, like pro acryl titanium white is like a lot of people considered like the one. I like it. I use it. But while I had a job, this hobby was also very much about like collecting stuff for the hobby, unabashedly so. So I got a lot of things, stuff and things. I use a rotary tool for sanding models down while I'm putting them together. You did good. Yeah, and they last like plastic's not going to break them down. Like I've never changed that bit out. I still have the other set of bits in my garage where I do like woodworking stuff, and you will actually go through those solid sand bits. I just find it way easier to use than the ones where you have to constantly put the new cardboard tube on. Um, Solid sand bits are pretty sweet. Yeah, I love it. You shred through plastic with those, depending on. Yeah, the neat thing is about one of these little small guys, though it's a conversion chuck, so I can use Dremel bits on it. The neat thing about a little guy like this is like it doesn't have enough horsepower to legit hurt yourself with. Um, like I've used Dremels for like metalworking and woodworking stuff, and I do some pretty hefty stuff with them. At a hobby desk, it's like a little bit of overkill. So having something that's like a bit less torque, that just plugs in USB and can be unplugged, is like a nice, definitely a nice to have thing. But I definitely built up over time. Like my first trip to a Warhammer store, it was like I got my combat patrol, I got I think an extra thing of plague marines, and I got like I don't know 5 or 6 paints, and then since then I just keep buying crap. I do have a very strong attachment to Dremel as a brand though. Like the number of things where I'm like, if I can't solve it the right way, I can solve it with a Dremel. It's a very large number. I mean, depending on your situation, dedicated room super important. That's actually it's funny. I'd say there's a lot of reasons that I started the hobby, but the main reason, the actual like, I got up, left my house, and drove to the Warhammer store is in the old house that I was living in. It was after COVID had started. I had an office, a separate room with a door on it, um, and it had a built-in desk situation. And then I bought this physical desk that I'm sitting at right now, and I realized I had more space. I had enough space cleared out in the built-in desk that I could do something as a hobby. And I'd been like flirting in my head with like Warhammer stuff because I'd been, watching some videos on lore and like watching some videos of people painting. And the actual dedicated space was the thing that turned the corner for me going like, oh, I could pick up this hobby. And then I went out to the store and then everything just took off from there. Everything. And now like, a little under a year ago, no, a little less than a year ago, I moved into this house, and like part of like picking a house was like making sure I had a space to do my hobby. Weird, but I have like one video on YouTube where I just got the Ultramarines Infernus beginner set, and I only used the stuff that was either in the box or like household supplies. It was actually the very first time I streamed, and it was over on YouTube, and it was very much like I wanted to see. It was very much a testament to like what do you need at all to get started with this hobby. And so, I wasn't using a mat. I was using a piece of cardboard. I used the one brush that came with it. Um, I used just the paints that were in there. I used, I think it was a shot glass with an elastic around it. Basically, I had like a shot glass as if it was like this piece, and I ran an elastic around it and on the base of the actual models. Um, I used a clean, never before used set of nail clippers for snips. Um, just just did it. Like no wet palette, none of this crazy stuff, and it was fine and it was fun and actually like it was it wasn't the first things I had ever painted. It was just because I wanted to stream, but like I mean it's a space marine. It's not terrible. The guy's got a flamethrower, a flamer. He's not bad. There's obviously things I would have done differently. It didn't come with red, so I couldn't do the eye slits that way. Um, It's funny because like my lighting's terribly set up and all this stuff. It's just like grimy dude in his office. I say over on my YouTube channel, but like I believe I'm actually still streaming live to it right now. Thank God you can stream to more than one place at a time now. Makes a difference. Makes life a lot easier. I am starting to get very tired, and so I think I'm gonna snap this guy off of here, call it a night. I think realistically, I'm about one session away from not done, but I think I will rock out the rest of these guys, the rest of the brass they need on them, a little bit of cleanup on them, a little bit of wash on a few of them. Then I'll be moving on to basing them, and then I can move forward. Things in the hopper right now. I got to finish Scarbrand, which is a bunch of oil metallics. I got to finish Typhus, so I could send that out to Sector X. I got a Hellbrute. I've got. I still got to put the arms on and finish my. Four-legged. I forgot what the guy's called because it's late. That dude. Gotta finish this dude up. Who's in the traditional gold and black. I got stuff to do. Yeah, Judas. Thanks for hanging. Everybody, thanks for hanging. It was a good one tonight. Got good stuff done. Lots of good stuff to chat about. My eyes bleed, so I'm gonna push the kill the stream button. But we'll hopefully